wanted to make a series of videos about a personal system of numerology that came to me. It fits, I've made it fit into every occult, magic, whatever system. It's just start with the numbers and kind of like, of course you have to be lifelong learners to be into magic or magicians or whatever you want to call us. Once you build enough philosophy and skill and knowledge to commune with spirits, to leave your body, to cover the basics, which, these all should be handled, I think, personally, I think you have to guide people to learn how to do this because everybody's so unique. So anyway, once you get the basics, which I'll do another thing on the basics, I like to revisit the numbers and see what, basically once you get the basics down, you get a formula for each. I like to assign them to numbers. I don't know if anybody's ever done this before. This is an intuitive Gnostic type process. I was in Gnostic trance when this came to me, and I just adapted it with chaos magic. So anyway, the first number is 0, which is not really a number, but the absence of 0. So part of speech, the incantation part of that would be silence, which is the most powerful, thing of speech. Every other incantation, anything, you need, blank. Writing, doing talismans, whether you're enchanting or anything, there's silence involved. So learn to be silent before you even move on to these. If you're going to, redo your whole incantation game. Number 1, so we got 0, silence. I'm not getting into a lot of formulas of silence. You could just meditate, simple meditations. Try to take a vow of silence. See what it's like to not talk. Talk less. There's a lot of exercises you could do to make your peace or build your skills with silence, which I consider the most powerful form of communication. Because you got to start with that, which it is also kind of like silence is, a good backdrop to build things onto. So this number 1, the first form of communication that's I consider, just as right below silence, because silence is, you can't really communicate just with silence, would be non-verbal communication. Not just body language, but laughter, crying, speaking in tongues, glossolalia, things that it's really, we don't know what they mean ourselves most of the time. So other people can interpret them any way they want. If you cry, people cry at weddings. People cry because they're with joy. People are just touched. It's, this is deep sea. This is right into your emotion. Crying, laughter, even glossolalia, or just talking to yourself, or making grunts and groans that you don't know what it means. These things are where most of the communication is, because you can say things, whatever the words are, which just comes into a later form of speech. This is your tone. This is your attitude, your whole way you say things, whether you're yelling, whether you're quiet, whether you've said it 10 times already, or you just have waited 10 days to say it, or 10 years to say it. This is kind of like 0 and 1. Just decide when to even make a sound. And, then we go to 2, which I would say, in my personal Gnostic interpretation of this, I would say that 2 is, we're really getting into actual language. You're acknowledging, you're trying to say something that literally should mean something else to another person who speaks that language. This is, we've seen this. Of course, this is used in written language. A lot of people are articulate. I particularly feel I'm articulate. However, we've heard this before. This is still like 20% or lower of communication, even if the other person understands your language. Because the language is really in 0 and 1. I mean, communicate, like physical face-to-face communication. That's all it is. So there you go. You have like the 80% is silence and laughter, or crying, or unknowing sounds, glossolalia, speaking in tongues, whatever you do to do things that don't really mean anything, but it's kind of an emotional language, I would say, is the one. The two, you learn a language, you start communicating. That's 20% of face-to-face communication. Of course, that's way more when you're not face-to-face because you don't really have tone. That's why in text, a lot of people get confused and maybe start arguments. It's like whatever, but that's in real life too. Whatever the person is coming to you with, you're deciding what you think too. So that's the language, that's studying language. I mean, English is my first language. I was born and raised in LA here, so English, I know some Spanish, I know some French, I know some Latin. Nowadays, we could just look things up and have fun with bringing up Latin terms. Couldn't do that back in the old days. I mean, I guess maybe early 2000s. Before smartphones, we couldn't do that. So it's not necessarily the old days, but we can't do it anymore. Okay, so that's all languages. Formulas for that is, basically just learn the language. Learn how, when you say this, what does it mean to people? Meditate on the language. That would be the technique for it. 2. 3, this is when you get into complicated things. So there's several formulas you can use. Essentially, it's a mixture of 0, 1, and 2, which makes 3. 3, so sometimes we interact, and this is just all communication. We just interact with ourselves, which is 0 and 1. Making that only means sense to us, and we don't even know what we're saying, or we don't plan it or anything. 3 is getting more into a formula of thinking, having awareness of what you say, not just going straight for this and that, not just knowing the language, but knowing how to control your own. So I would say this is awareness mixed with language and emotion. So all of these, and silence is in there, of course. So they all build into this. There's several different, the Trinity in Christianity. Before Christianity, the Gnostic Trinity was Father, Mother, and Son. There's that. I am going to do a separate video on a formula for the Trinity, which, I, A, O, that's for people that don't know, that's like a thelemic thing. You make the sounds. It's basically alpha, iota, and omega. So, and there's a lot of magical formulas that magicians like Aleister Crowley modify. He changed it more. He made it VIO. Kind of a nod to sexualism, I guess. So, and the O is just the cycle of the sex, and the sun is kind of like that. So anyway, so he did VIO. I mean, there's just these things to kind of like reprogram your brain. That's what old school magic is, like Crowley's type of magic. Chaos magic, I think, has surpassed it a lot, especially with technology. So I wouldn't get too hung up on it, but this is the way that I had to learn when I was in my 20s, 30s. I mean, well, early 30s. So I was in my 20s in the 90s. There was no cell phone still, so you had to read. And books were kind of more available, but in the 80s they weren't available. So anyway, 3 is these formulas. I'll go into the different formulas. So basically, you could say Father, Son, Holy Spirit. You could say Father, Mother, Son. There's trinities in all the. It's a common like subconscious mind thing. So it pops up in all religions like that. Basically, my favorite interpretation of this, the favorite formula I use for instead of the Christian trinities, I like the Hindu one, where in Hindu you have Brahman, which is the creator. You have Vishnu, which is the preserver. That's the preserver. And then you have Shiva, which is the destroyer. And I think that's where everybody's going with this. Or you could look at, and you look at how destroy and create and everything works around. So I like that thing of the Trinity. These formulas actually build awareness and build things. So you don't think it has to do with incantation or language so much, but it does. I can just attest to that if you don't want to believe me. But anyway, I can attest that it does change that. So going to 4, I'm only going to go to 5. I could go all the way to 10, maybe the next part 2 if people like this. Okay, number 4. There's 4 formulas. So once you do the Trinity, you do the 1, which is just... So, I mean, let's just recap. 0, silence. 1, chanting, nonverbal communication. Working on speaking in tongues. That would help in that thing too. 2 is language. Just study language. Absorb all the languages you can. Try to get different meanings, 3, we already went over some of the formulas to build your magical mindset. 4 is the elements, the powers of the Sphinx. So I'll go into all those in detail later, but 4 is, earth, water, air, and fire. So that is that. The Sphinx also has the powers of the Sphinx, which is actually in Gnostic Christianity in the Bible. That's to will, to dare, to know, and to be silent. So you can see it almost kind of follows this a little bit. If you want to assign those all the way up to 4. So we already got silence. We already got dare, will. I mean, to know. I mean, you can move them around any way you want, really. But those are the powers of the Sphinx formulas. And these things just kind of reprogram your brain. It's almost like upgrading your operating system. In the old days, you didn't have an actual computer, but your mind was a computer. That's like, people like Cornelius Agrippa, Aleister Crowley, even like just all the old school magicians like that. I can't think of all of them. There's Levi. I don't know. You could look them up if you want. All the grimoire type of magicians. So that's 4. I'll go into these all in detail, each one though later. You could adopt some kind of 4 elemental thing. Number 5 is chaos magic, and chaos magic at this point is using all the chaos of things that didn't go right or some that we learned from 1 through 4 and making things happen without rules, without dogma. That's just where it is. Chaos magic, why is it 5? What else is after following all these things? Once you've organized yourself so much, then you have to deorganize yourself, give up on things, destroy and rebuild. So number 5 is chaos magic, punk rock, alternative, whatever. I believe that things have to be destroyed and rebuilt at sometimes. And if it's a bad system already, that's the only way to go sometimes, because people just latch on and just get into this back and forth, and they don't understand that they're going around in circles this way and other people are going around in circles the other way, and they think they're both right, but nothing changes. You have to use chaos magic to balance out the two, the right and wrong, the duality, even the third. I think the third goes to the fourth. I mean, it's all, as far as I could see. I don't know if anybody else would get it, but these would all go into a chaotic mix if you did these 4. Even the powers of the Sphinx, it's a formula, but at times you'd have to destroy and lose faith in all that and rebuild a new system with that. So I hope that this made sense to people. Please leave me any comments. If you're seeing this for the first time, make sure to subscribe. I'm just kind of a small channel. I just do this for fun. I'm on other podcasts as well. I'm on Witchcraft TV, Dark Sorcery, and anybody I partner with. That's it. Hope you enjoyed it. Bye.